Hello there. Welcome back to another 5-minute take. I'm Wayne Marinovich, founder of the Resilient Path, the channel you're on. So yeah, welcome. This is the one that I've wanted to do for a long time. It's basically something that I learned the hard way, and I think everybody needs to learn a lot more about it. And this is learning about money, finances, and the economy. One of the biggest problems we have is the sheer lack of education through our system, through even our parents. And it's not your fault that you don't know anything about these things. You know, money and finances, economy, it just seems like such a far off, distant, complex thing. But I think it's your fault if you remain ignorant about this going forward, especially in, about the topics I talk so much about on a resilient path. We're in for a lot of change ahead, and a lot of it is going to come down to economies and finance and wealth. And we just were never taught. No school curriculum ever had this built in. I think it was taken out in the 1930s. So they don't push anything about learning about money. They were considered what you call a home subject. So, you expected your parents would teach you about money and finances. But in fact, most of the time parents didn't know. So that roll on of knowledge never actually happened. So schools were always, as I've mentioned before, a lot of my writing was created to create good employees and obedient citizens, that were just happy to go out there and trade their time and their labor, their hard work for a paycheck, never knowing, what would happen with the money. And we were never taught, just basically to live week to week. So, I think one of the lessons I always learned, and I need you to learn, is become your own bank. And no, I'm not talking about putting money away. This is really about you learning certain things. And the first thing to start off with, which we'd be surprised how many people don't know this, is the money in your bank account, that wonderful app, or when you open up it on your laptop, is not yours, right? You are a unsecured creditor, they call it. In this terms and conditions, you actually give the bank the money for interest. So that it's their money. All that you're seeing is a digitized IOU. So those little numbers that say, oh, this is how much money you've got. It's not yours. It's an IOU. When you need it, they will give it to you. Which is why you'll see during economic times when a bank collapses, you'll have a bank run, right? Everybody suddenly wants their money. In the old days, you'd have queues outside the door. Now they just lock you out. So I think it's a major important thing to start that journey with understanding that they own the money. Another thing that you will learn as you start this journey of self-discovery is that prices don't go up. Okay, your house price doesn't go up. It's the biggest money myth that they will tell you. Everybody will tell you that it's your asset and it goes up. What they're not telling you is it's actually the purchasing power of every pound or dollar or yen or whatever that's going down. This is through the money printing. This is through inflation, right? These are things they'll never tell you because it's in their interest not to. I'm going to list here, which I'm going to read off, which is just some words I randomly picked up on my travels, and just to show how complex the jargon is that they use, which really acts as a barrier to stop you investigating this stuff. So some stupid words like amortization, quantitative easing, derivatives, real versus nominal GDP, and annuities, dividends and leverage, drawdowns and accruals. I mean, who thinks of this stuff? And you already, I can believe you, sitting there looking with a glazed look on your face, going, "Well, it's too complex. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna bother to learn it." Well, guess what? That's what they want. They want you stupid about this stuff. They want it to seem like some distant foreign tongue that you don't understand, because they don't want you to start checking out and becoming experts in your own area. It's intentionally complicated. So that you won't question it, but you'll happily listen to them and accept their words. I think it's great ways which they simply use it to cover up their exorbitant fees and their consulting fees, etc. So one of the things that we've all fallen for is what finance term is consumer programming, right? So here's a couple of things, right? The checklist lifestyles, which I always call it, with our checklist lifestyle that we have been educated and groomed to tick off, one thing at a time, like little rats with one purpose, and that is to consume along this journey. We live in an economy that's 70% driven by consumer spending. It's a Ponzi scheme built on debt that can only survive if you constantly have people coming in at the bottom, just like all Ponzi schemes. It needs that constant inflow of people stupid enough just to keep spending. So you're encouraged to borrow more, spend more, never save, or live frugally. And I mean, nobody wants to, but really, who needs 3 damn TVs in their household? Consumer spending is being programmed from a youth. All the TV adverts, the placement of goods in shopping centers at children's eye level to get them to look and chase their parents, oh, please buy me this, please buy me this. And it's just this notion that you'll become a better person if you buy more stuff. And I get it, right? I've felt the same. That dopamine hit when you walk out with a new toy, a new watch, a new car, we all get it. But just don't forget something that I've learned a long time ago. If you like this, if that's what you believe your life is, you are a chess piece on a board. Somebody else is the chess player and is pushing you around and moving you around because they invented the game. This whole talk, this whole 5-minute rant is about getting you to wake up and start being the chess player in your life. So what can you do? Well, it's incredibly complex. So the best thing you can do is learn and learn and learn and learn. And don't stop trying to learning until you feel like you can understand things and can look behind the curtain and listen to Bloombergs and the things and understand to a good level of what they're talking about. Become your own banker. So I've said it before. And I know it's not about hoarding cash and sticking it in under a mattress. It's about understanding assets, gold, silver, Bitcoin, bonds, gilts. Learn what they are and understand them. So very simply, how do you start this epic journey you're going to go on? Well, I would advise starting with something, I'll put a link in, called The Hidden Secrets of Money by Mike Maloney of, I think it's goldensilver.com. And I said, I'll pop the link as well as to the Gold and Silver one. It's 10 episodes, are roughly 30 minutes long each one. Incredibly high quality graphics and explanations. The man knows what he's talking about. He will take you through the history of money, how it came into being, how banks create money, how central banks create money, how your government can do money printing, etc. He's also got a good book for free on his website. Another thing to read is anything by Morgan Housel. Right, I'll put it's Housel, especially The Psychology of Money, which is really around how you need to start thinking about money. One thing I learned an incredible amount of, a book was Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Quite a controversial guy by all standards, but he explains money. He explains some of the concepts of money. For example, that how money, asset puts money in your pocket. Liabilities take money out. And when you start to get your head around that, you'll understand why your house is not your asset until you paid it off. It's a liability. And I think, just starting a journey in investing and trading is something to have a look at. There's a lot of books about it. There's a lot of great channels. I'll put another link to something called Verified Investing. He's a young chap in America who I follow, and he helps me understand technical charts and things like that. It's just a learning journey. I think the greatest thing I can give to you in this 5-minute rant, which is moving on a bit, as they all do, is to stop relying on others to grow your wealth. Just stop relying on other people. It's your money. Learn about it. Learn what other people are doing with your money. How are they investing it? When your financial advisor start saying things like, oh, it's complex, I won't bother you with the details. Yeah, learn those details because he's there making money off your money. So become the banker in your own household. Expand your horizons. I'll be doing lots of these kind of chats around finances. And no, I'm not a financial investor, so I will tell you what I'm doing and how I'm learning. So that's all for this one. I wish you well. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe as per usual. And as always, I wish you peace and great beer.